it's Guido coming at you with a review, and today we are reviewing the Tier 7 Gowika. SDP 57 Gowika, which I'm sure that is not how that is pronounced. It is the Tier 7 Polish TD in the new Polish line. Starts at Tier 5, goes to 10. Finished up the Tier 7, moved on to the 8, so we're going to review the Tier 7, show you a little gameplay, and we'll talk about it. So I ended up with about 56% win rate. Not even about, exactly. Off of only 16 battles, fellas, so we get through this pretty quickly these days with all the times 5s, and we had the birthday thing going on. So I've also got a stack of times 5s, so basically everything past the first bonus game that's a win is a times 5. So cranking through it quickly. I did unlock every module on this one and then played it to the Tier 8, so it didn't take very long. Averaged a 905 assist. As I said, 56% win rate. We'll just get all through all this stuff right now. 64% hit rate seemed a little bit low. That surprised me a bit. 2.74 on the damage, destruction 2.63. Armor use at 0.76. We'll talk about the armor, but this is, you know, when you get to armor of 1.0, that's useful armor. And at 0.5, it's situational. In between, it's getting good, right? You've got situational, good, and useful, I guess, is the three things I would call it. Average 1,723 damage, and this is the one where I really felt like I was getting comfortable. I liked the 5 fine. The 5 is kind of a bog standard 5, near the top of its class at Tier 5 for tech tree tanks. The 6 I liked a lot, but I didn't do particularly good in it. The 7 I just plain old liked and did fairly decently in it overall. So really, if you didn't want to watch the rest of the review, that would be pretty much it. Alright, so it's a casemate. It's got some limitations like the other ones. Let's jump back into the garage and see what Wargaming says about this thing. Go to the vehicle details, and we've got an assault tank destroyer. Alright, we'll talk a bit about that, whether it really is or isn't. I would say kind of. At the end of the war, Polish Army operated Soviet self-propelled guns, so they had licensed T-34 and 54 for the mediums. As a protection base for independent production of armored vehicles. So a lot of the countries that fell under the Iron Curtain had some individual production and things going on, at least at first. And as the Soviets kind of consolidated power and the Warsaw Pact, that really became a standardized thing, and it was mostly all just Soviet design. So a lot of this stuff never really came to fruition as these countries sort of fell into lockstep with the Soviet Union in terms of what they were allowed to produce and doing license-built stuff of Soviet equipment. So the Gowika was designed to replace the obsolete Su-100 and ISU-122. Project was deemed a success, but the prototype was abandoned in favor of a more promising design, which would be, of course, the Soviet stuff. So at the end of the day, that's what happened to it. So this is a Tier 7. It is running with, to be honest, I don't remember what are the calibers of these guns. It's a 122. All right, so the top gun's a 122. It has one module to unlock, which has been exactly more or less the same for the whole line. There might have been 2 guns on some of the lower ones, but really it's mostly just one module and then you're fully upgraded. That 122 is really quite a bit better than this one. This is a 280, kind of the gun from the Tier 6. And then you're jumping into a 420 Alpha gun with 202 pen and 245 with the gold round, and that's a pretty darn good gun at Tier 7. As I said, it is a casemate. You can see right here, very flat-sided, quite large as well. Camo's not great, so people are not going to have a whole lot of trouble hitting you on the side. It is a relatively low-mounted gun with the -7 degrees of gun depression. All this giant forehead, right? Forehead, that's a 5-head. That's a 5-head right there, fellas. That thing is going to come up and over on any of your ridge kind of fighting and get shot before you even get your gun online. So just be aware of that. There's not necessarily any real weak spots in terms of hatches or things. There is kind of one right there, but it's very thin. But all of this right here, in terms of positioning, is weak, right? It's a weak position, although it is 180 millimeters thickness and some angling, not amazing, but a little bit. We'll talk about the armor here in a moment. I set mine up with the rammer in the bonus slot. I have not done any of my field modifications yet. All I did was unlock and move on. I ran an IA and vents. I was running food, and that got me down to a 0.32 dispersion, which is nice. 2,700 really. average damage per minute, which is nice. We've got a point, I said 0.32, 1.76 on the aiming time. So honestly, the gun's pretty dang comfortable. For a 122 with 420 alpha, that's comfortable. That's pretty good for that kind of gun. You know, that Soviet-esque 122 beast. -7 can be a little bit difficult to deal with. And the same thing with all of these so far. The stop on the azimuth is 5 degrees. Painful. Takes a lot of futzing around. I'll tell you the 8 is the same way. A lot of futzing around to get yourself lined up. Coming around corners, trying to lock down corners, things like that is really painful. Gun traverse almost doesn't matter with 5 degrees of azimuth. Really, it starts to become your whole traverse that matters at that point. 9 second and some change on the gun loading for my setup right there. And the speed is nice at 50 kilometers an hour, 14 backwards. That's one of the basic things about all of these Polish TDs is even though they're carrying around a decent amount of armor, they're also quite fast. So let's do a quick comparison. Actually, jump into the crew for just a second. I did send a good crew up to the tier 8. So this is the crew that's been running through all of the tanks since tier 6. So I've got Gurney, and then these 3 guys from the Snatch thing in there. So that's a pretty good crew. This crew right here is one I built after I moved on the crew that I'm moving up to the tier 10. They're also decent, but they were just guys I got for free because now that we've got 124.1, you get 100% guys, chuck some books at them. It's pretty easy to get them in a fairly decent state. So that's not amazing, it's decent. Now let's take a look at the comparison. So tier 7 has a very interesting tank in it called the Cheeto SP, the Cheater SP. This is an extremely good Japanese TD, a relative recent addition to the game. In fact, I think the TD line that came right before this one, the Gowika, it might be one in between it, I don't remember. But so we're going to compare it to that. We've also got the Su-100M1 and the AT-7. Both of these are basically assault TDs. This is a hidden gem, the Su-100M1. If you haven't played this thing, it's quite a nasty little tank. And of course the AT-7, the lumbering, heavily armored British TD. So these are all assault TDs. You got the slow, heavily armored British one on one side. You got the faster ones, the Cheeto SP and the Gowika, and kind of an in-betweener with the 100M1. So if you look at the average DPM or alpha, it's 420 for the Gowika, 320 for the Cheeto, and then 250 and 230. So these are smaller pew-pews on there. The penetration is all pretty close, although the AT-7 has a nice 226, and as you recall, it went to 250 or so for the Gowika. 11-second gun loading. You saw how mine got down to quite a bit below that with the gun loading. But if we come down here to the DPM, you've got the Cheeto SP sitting at 2,442, and almost 300 less, or 200 and some change really, is the Gowika. Okay, so very interesting. Still, the Cheeto is just kicking down range a lot of DPM with a still hefty, decent 320 alpha at tier 7. So very interesting right there. It's the reload time that's keeping the Gowika from being close to the Cheeto. The next thing we want to look at, gun handling wise, they're pretty close. We got the Cheeto at 0.33. Remember, mine got down to 0.33 on the Gowika with all the bonuses and things. The Cheeto can get even further into the 2s really with the same setup or close to them, maybe 0.29 or so. Nice aim time with all of this. So the gun is decent for the Gowika, although when you look at this, the base stats are the worst of the 4 minus the Su-100, so I guess the third worst of the 4. So if you put a little help on it, that's why I'm running the IA, it gets very comfortable. Survivability, inexplicably, the Cheater has 1,000 hit points. I don't know. There's so many things wrong with this tank and why it is number 1. We'll look at the stats in a minute, though, because it's a bit eye-opening, actually. Here's the armor piece, 180, all right? You've got the Cheeto at 250. That is a significant difference. A tier 7 at 250. Talked about in the past, somewhere around 200 is kind of a break point in this game. If you have 200 or more armor, you're doing pretty well. That actually negates a lot of the guns in the game and forces them to press 2. 180, not so much. 180, you can fire a standard round from a tier 8 heavy and have a reasonable chance of penetrating 180. It is slightly angled. You can do things like be on a ridge, back slopes, yada yada. That can increase the relative armor that's impact right there. But 180 clearly not nearly as good as 250. However, that being said, and there's 203 over here on the AT7. That being said, the 180 is useful in times, right? I kind of think it's more situational than useful, but so far in my 16 battles, it's been good as opposed to just simply situational. Mobility-wise, this thing shines 50 kilometers an hour. So, on the equipment thing that we talked about, how I had mine set up, you could put a turbo on there and get that thing even faster. I don't think it's really required because I'll be honest with you, 50 is plenty enough to get it in trouble. And you'll look at the Su 100 M1 is sitting at 54. That thing will zip around. So 50 is very nice, gets you the ability to get up front, do some assault TD stuff, kind of follow the mediums and the heavies to get into nice positions, bring that 420 alpha gun to start punching people in the face. And then if you have to skedaddle, it actually has some capability to reposition, rotate, whatever you want to call it, metaflex, or even just plain old run away. So not bad. I liked the speed. Whereas the Cheeto actually feels pretty zippy to me, but it's only sitting at 40. So advantage Gowika on that. Camo-wise, it's not great, although fascinatingly, it's a little bit better than the Cheeto. I think the Cheeto might be slightly taller. The height of the vehicle seems to have a lot to do with the camo ratings in this game. Actually, I'm sorry. I'm going. Yeah, no, that's right. That's correct. 16. I was confusing myself. Self-confusing myself. Whereas the 100M1's kind of a small, compact, low-slung TD. It's sitting at 20. So it's in the ballpark, though, right? That's not gross. It's not horrible. Cheeto is bad or worse for being taller. I didn't prioritize camo. As you noticed on my crew over there wasn't really any camo on them. It's not a tank, I think, that you want to sit there and snipe with. However, the gun handling is good enough that if you have to or you want to, based on the matchmaker, etc., the map, it can do it if it has to, no problem. So think Prokrovka, if you're on the 1-2 line, sure, it has no problem doing that kind of thing if you need to. All right. So there you go. Interesting tank. Let's take a look at some numbers really quickly because this is what I was talking about, the interest of the stats. The Cheeto SP is completely overpowered. It's 3.75 win rate difference above the average. So what this means is people just across the spectrum do better than their global win rate in this tank. Although the T20 HTC is +4, E25 is plus 1.81. Gowika comes in fourth, guys. But we have to throw the caveats always in there with the new tanks. It has also a higher win rate player. This is the highest win rate average of players right now. It's a new tank, so early adopters are generally your better players, your more experienced players. So that's some of it. And it's only minus 0.13, so people are basically contributing or what's the word I'm looking for? Doing the thing. Performing. That's what happens when you get old, fellas. Words just escape. People are generally performing at their win rate level in the Gowika. So it's doing pretty good. I think this is certainly one of the better Tier 7 TDs. I don't know if it's going to stay here just based on this whole thing going on, because at some point the win rate of the players will decrease and that will hurt it a little bit, and it'll probably drop. It'll be in the top half, I'd imagine. So I wouldn't call it overpowered, at least not yet, although it is dropping the second best DPG right now. Again, though, better players on average are playing it at the moment. It's early days, fellas. These are the first stats that have come out right here. 7,000 people played it. Real quickly before we get on to the gameplay, if we take a look at the armor here, right here, 180, 196, so it gets a little bit with the angle right there, but this is against its own gun. You're going to have a fairly easy time penetrating this thing with anything around 200 penetration. That's the bottom line. 200 or more, you have a pretty easy time penetrating this thing. But because it's a 7 and it sees 5s, and to some extent many of the 6s, mediums, and things that have relatively low penetration, you will have a fairly decent time being an assault TD against some of those things. And the nice thing about it is, generally assault TDs are slow with a big heavy gun and lots of armor. This thing is fast with a decently heavy gun and okay-ish armor. So it's sort of lightly armored for an assault TD, but it's carrying a pretty big stick. So if you do move it up forward, it's going to thump people pretty hard. Now remember, this does not have the star shell thing, the special mechanic that the 8, 9, and 10 have, where it does more damage the closer it is. This is just a standard 122 in the game right here. The mechanic starts at tier 8. Let's take a look at some games. Right, fellas, this was my first game. We're here on Malinovka, spawned into the south, and I'm going to go up the hill. You'll see that I'm top tier. I've got 6s and 7s. I'm looking at a BZ, a Tiger, and then nothing else really heavy. And I'm loving this because this thing is fast. I'm just going to play the Assault TD action with this thing. Good news is that if I can get up there and get hull down, that will increase the angle of my upper plate or the face plate there of the casemate TD. I will take a quick stop here. We'll switch over to HE, and I'll see if I can maybe get lucky and shoot one of their light tanks. So you see the Super Chap, he's already lit, and he's over on the other side there. So unless the 50-2 is in one of these bushes, probably not much going on. We'll take a couple shots. You'll see that it explodes behind the bush right there, which means it didn't hit anything, so we'll move on. I do have a significant number of guys going up the hill, which is good. We've got the BZ-58, the M2Y, the ARL has decided to go up there. We also have a considerable number of campers, but that's okay. You get that, and most of those are the lower tier kind of guys. So the game planning here is to just be an assault TD. Which should work if you're looking at this setup. The other thing I wanted to show you is the decent speed. You got to like that you're able to do 50. Now climbing with all of these heavy things is always a bit painful. It's power to weight's not bad though. You can see I'm still doing 20, 25 once I get to the steep part, dropping down to 15 or so, but I'm catching up to some of the heavies, although some of them paused to see what was going on. I am noticing that they have not showed anything, and every inch of ground that BZ-58 gets and doesn't see anybody on their corresponding backside, the happier I am. Which means that if anything does come up, we're probably going to destroy it. So unless just a bunch of purples show up, and then I see a medium, and they don't see anybody, so the BZ-58 gets up there, takes the windmill, and nobody's there, that's fantastic. I see the M2Y, and right now I'm thinking I might go low. If they're actually not going to be here, if I can get low right here, I might be able to surprise some of these guys. Although the Tiger gets in there, but great. Let's test this thing out, fellas. Let's test out the armor. It's a Tiger 131. It's a tier 6 heavy. The M2Y is with me. He misses, unfortunately, coming in there. The Tiger is trying to take that guy on, and he's about to see what happens with 420 Alpha. Badouge 444. You got to love that, man. Just dropped 444 on the guy. I thought he might try to go around the thing. We're just going to auto-aim him. Spin around. The gun traverse isn't great. I get shot in the side by the T-34-85M. Interesting that he didn't go after the M2Y, who actually was hurt, and he just keeps showing himself. So we're going to thump him again, this time for a 387. Bit of a low roll that time, so we get a high roll and a low roll. What was the other? Well, we won't know what the other roll in the Tiger is. Boom. Another shot on him. I guess I never did. I guess I didn't get a shot on the Tiger again, did I? 264. There it is. I see it. And we win this hill. All right. Well, this is a very dangerous portion of this particular map right here. Winning this hill like this is great, but you'll notice that we're not really far ahead in tanks. That means they have a complete Campa-Lampa ding-dang going on, and we're getting bombed by the M12 and the Clown 304 player. So I'm not interested in continuing to poke over there and let them see me. I'm going to take off this way and see if we can get into some spots over here and shoot some guys if they get lit. Now this game unfortunately takes a while. It's Malinovka. We're going to kind of push in here. I was really hoping that this light tank would do some good work, but he YOLOs, unfortunately. I don't know what that was all about, but we'll drop 417 on the Super Hellcat. Delicious. The other light tank dies. I guess one of them was actually a medium tank. They both YOLO in there and die. That just isn't helpful at all. And I'm sticking out of that bush. Now here's where the -7 is not fantastic. I have to mess around with this a little bit to make it work. I'm going to get in here and we'll put a shot on this guy. I'm aiming. What the? Missed. Knocked down a tree, unfortunately. Reload is okay. Not super fast. I think this actually might hit. I might get some damage out of that. We double tapped. At the very least, the BZ certainly hit him because he killed him. But notice that we're pretty even at 4 to 5. We're okay down at the cap. If you take a look at mini-map down there, but we're a little bit weak in the middle. The IKV then goes YOLOing forward. There's not a whole lot you can do, fellas, in situations like this. You just sort of got to hold and hope that the enemy team is going to make a few mistakes. And they have 3 Burzas, a Giro, a Super Hellcat, and a Stare. Now, the Giro is probably down at their cap based on where he was spotted last. Most everything else is probably in those bushes and in the trees. And that's just, we're not going to be able to push that. We don't have anything either with the armor needed or with the vision needed to sort of pick those guys out of there. And all of a sudden we realize that the Staghound, there's a Staghound. I don't know how that M12... oh, the M12 destroyed our Staghound. Never mind. Our Staghound goes and gets dead. And then the ARL decides he wants to try to go in there. Just don't quite get the shot on the 304. I'm like, yes, please kill this thing, somebody. Maybe we'll get him. Nope, we're going to bounce him, fellas. Critical, no damage. We're going to stand in. I think they're pretty busy. Unfortunately, I do get hit by the Super Hellcat. That sucked. And we're down to 400 and then get thumped for 171 from the M12, unfortunately. And we're down to a critical status in terms of hit points. This is not great at all. And we've lost a few guys YOLOing in there. Now we're at 5 to 7. So it's not a great situation. The IKV goes in, and I'm thinking, well, I need to stick around here for a while. I'm watching the cap. Cap's not looking great. A little bit worried about the cap. IKV isn't spotting anything. I'm not surprised. They don't have fantastic view range. BZ's moving around a bit. I think he actually pushes here in a minute, unwisely. We'll take some shots into the bushes here, lining up more or less where the purple dot is of the Burza. See if we can get some shots. I don't have a whole lot of ammo. You'll notice I'm at 16, 8, and 4 at this point, so I can take 3 or 4 shots comfortably and still have enough ammo for the rest of the battle. This is the kind of battle where having a lot of ammo is important because there's a lot of camping and shooting going on. 304, we got shots coming out. I guess the IKV is maybe spotted. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Or the guy's just, yeah, he's getting shot. Though he must not be spotted. He was probably disintegrated if he was actually spotted. The other arty might be shooting into where he knocked trees down. Watching the cap back there, trying to see what's going on. Is somebody going to show up? Moving the camera around, trying to see if I can pick up somebody, something moving, tree going down. Swap over to HE. Put a shot into, hey, how about where the G-Row was? I was thinking about that bush, because we're still missing the T-50-2. Hard to tell what happened right there. Naturally, as soon as I reload, the Stare gets lit. And I think I tried to use intuition there. I wasn't quite reloaded and screwed myself on a shot, I believe, is what happened there. Shots going back at the IKV. I'm too far away for draw distance, unfortunately. Put the brakes on. There we go. All right, we got a Burza. Fantastic. We'll zoom in here. Regular AP shot. There we go. Thump him nicely. Get 378 out of that. Is he going to survive these shots? Okay, already nukes him. Good. All right, that's one of the Burzas down, but unfortunately, the BZ starts getting absolutely annihilated. And he only lit one of those guys. The rest of them were far enough back. Just keeps getting crushed by the artillery. And we've lost our IKV. So now we're in a hurting status. Sort of take a blind shot down where I thought the artillery might be, or the Stare. BZ repositions, continuing to look at the cap down there in the south. Nothing's pushed across. The worst problem we have is they have a T-50-2. And to be honest, this purple team would have won this game. I won't tell you what happens at the end here. We'll get to it. But if that T-50-2 had done something earlier and all of a sudden he shows up, Slash been a better player, they probably would have won this pretty easily. They should have, for sure. They have all kinds of hit points. I don't know what the Tiger P is doing, to be honest. To a base, move up and challenge cap. No, that is absolutely the worst plan. Ah, there's the Tiger P. Found him. There's the Tiger P. So either he was camping at cap the whole time, or he was in the bushes and eventually moved around, but he's pushing. The 50-2 gets by those guys. The T-78's hurting. He's getting bombarded. The Tiger P's pushing in, and the 50-2 is going after the Artie. I wish I'd have moved the second I saw him down there instead of messing around. I was sort of hoping the T-78 and the other guy down there would kill the 50-2. I should have been moving earlier. There goes our last, or second to last Artie. Watch this, fellas. Yeah, we're going to get this guy. Oh, there we go. Okay, good. I thought something else happened there, to be honest. Our T-78 dies. That's bad. So now they've got... I mean, they should... Look at this. This is crazy. It's 7-11. They have a BZ-58. The Tiger P's over here. They have 2 artillery. I mean, honestly, this... Our Hellcat rages in and gets a 304. That is a bit helpful. I'm worried about this Tiger P trying to get on cap, and I'm like, oh, yeah, he did get on cap. I wonder if anybody else came with him. And honestly, at this point, this is just a YOLO win to get some damage and see what happens. You know, it's going to take a miracle at this point for me to win this thing. Like, okay, where is he? This is a good pair of bushes to get to. Oh, it's not the Tiger P on the cap. Very nice. It is somebody else, but we'll just thump him on the way in. Cool. So we use the bushes, and I'm figuring I'm going to get spotted from behind at any moment. I lost him. I could have blind shot, but there's 2 of them on there. I want to find one of these guys. Where are these dudes? Like, how come nobody is showing up behind me right now? I have no idea. This surprised me, actually, what happens here. Maybe the 304 actually spotted him, to be honest. Let's see what happens. I do find... Oh, I shoot into the bush. That's right. I forgot about that. That's where he was. He was in the bush. And that was the Berza. So we'll back. We'll get the solid bush. We'll kill him. Really, why am I not being killed? I don't know. It's still 9-13. Tiger P's in there somewhere. That's why I keep looking behind me. Now the 304 is watching, and that's fine. I don't want to get seen by this guy. There we go. Look at that. You got to like the gun. Very comfortable. Very comfortable. Bit lucky. It wasn't fully zoomed in, but I'll take it. And now I figure, well, I probably do need to move now because I just lost the 304. So somebody saw the 304. I'd imagine it's one of the other 4 guys in the game who are pushing up behind us. And why I didn't get lit doing this, I don't know. I mean, they should have just been pushing down. So we'll push over here, and the plan, fellas, at this point is we'll just kill the Tiger P if we can. We'll see what happens. He'll probably get bombed by the M12 or whatever. He's not looking. Here's where that stinking azimuth hurt me, and holy cow, he took a shot and missed. I'll take it. Just keep pushing. Please, M12, don't kill me before I get this shot. There we go. Wow, he reloaded fast. I thought for sure I was going to out-reload that guy, but again, I was futzing around trying to get the aim going on. I didn't really know how to hide here. Do I hide sideways? Do I back up? I don't know. How come the M12 hasn't shot me? Don't know. Could have been out of ammo. M12s don't actually carry a whole lot of ammo. Considered just sitting here and doing the last stand, and then I said, well, this other team is so bad, I might as well take a chance. I'll just run over here and see if I can get in a more defensible position. Maybe I'll catch one of their guys coming across this side and I'll get another kill, or at least another shot of damage. Because I know I can go up to these bushes here, up next to this building. I can sit there, I can see across the open over here, so if they do push, and actually make that change of decision about right here. So we'll just hang out here. If I come across, I might be able to spin and get a shot. Sort of looking because I figured how is there not somebody coming across the field? I don't know. No idea. Where are these guys? Where's the BZ-58? He's been playing. He's got 2 kills, but he was seen. So everything that's left has been seen at one point or the other. So 4 kills, 3,600 damage. I'm like, what is going on here, man? I don't want to knock that down. I don't want to knock the telephone pole on the off chance the M12 still has some ammo. He might be able to thumb me. I've got 53 hit points, so. And then we find, here comes the PC. I'm like, all right. Can I get a shot on him? 25 seconds. Let's see. Can I get myself behind? All right, there we go. There we go. Let's get. Yeah. Oh, dang it! couldn't quite get where I wanted to be. I don't want to shoot and let him see me and kill me. Again, blown away, nobody's showing up behind me. Comes off the cap. He knows he can't cap. Now he wants to try to get the kill. I think I see him at the last second here, but it is too late. Yeah, there he is. I considered shooting. I was about to, but of course the game ended. And it's a draw! Made you guys wait for that. Made you wait all that time for a draw. Ends up being actually a ace mastery based on courageous resistance or some such thing. So first game ace and a bloody draw on the Gowika. But I wanted to show you, I went all over the map with this thing in this game. And yeah, it was the whole game, so lots of tanks can do that. But you got to love how fast this thing is. I actually completely changed position and was able to get some things done with the mobility of the silly thing. Not so much on the armor. Only bounced 240 on this one. Otherwise, I ate every shot that came at me. But there you go. Let's wrap it up. All right, fellas. That's the Tier 7 Gowika, the new Polish line of TDs. I kind of like this one, actually, for Tier 7. Now, Tier 7 TDs aren't super exciting. We talked about the Cheater SP. That thing's ridiculous. I expect it to get nerfed in the next 5 to 10 years, somewhere along there when they get around to it. Should be nerfed pretty much immediately. I don't know if this thing's really challenging that. Probably not really. I doubt it's going to stay as high as it is just based on what the stats look like right now, based on who's playing it. But I believe it is certainly in the top half of Tier 7 TDs. And once you get the big gun on it, you're not going to be disappointed. For you casemate guys / assault guys, it can swing to the sniper role too. It really does both, no problem at all. And I quite liked it. I think the biggest thing I like about these tanks so far is just their mobility is really nice. And while they're not carrying true assault TD armor around with them, it's useful armor usually, right? Or good armor usually. To situational at times, depending on tiering, but that's just something you have to deal with in this game. So, not a bad tank, good alpha, good speed, decent gun handling, bit of a pain in the rear with the azimuth on the gun, and not quite enough gun depression to really use all the really good spots in World of Tanks. But for you TD guys, I think I recommend this line. I think you're going to like it. And this tank really was kind of a breakout for me. It doesn't have the special mechanic where it does more damage close in, but it is lugging around a 420 alpha gun. That's all I've got for today, guys. Let me know what you think about this tank down below, and we will see you.